tribe, welcome back to my channel. So this is a requested video by a couple of you in the past, and I think the latest one was by Carla, so shout out to Carla. You wanted me to talk about what decks I use and what I use it for. I think I'm gonna go through this a bit like if I was doing a private reading, okay? Because it's gonna make more sense to you. So for example, my go-to deck to tune in the person's personality or their energy or what's their intellectual side like, okay, I use the Steampunk deck that you have seen many times on my channel, and that's my dearest deck, okay? This deck talks not only about personality very well, but by you can see very clearly what actions are being taken, and it's just very vibrant, but also it sings to my soul. So this is the personal preference, guys. You're not gonna vibe with all the decks that I vibe with on the same level. Now I'm gonna show you why. So let's say if I'm asking about personality of someone's, right, you can straight away see that Three of Cups is talking about friendship and coming together and celebration. Let me adjust the light. And celebration, right? And people really having a good time together, and it shows very clearly. And these people are very different. Someone is drinking, someone has a notepad, someone seems like works in spirituality, you know. So this is there are so many details you can pick up from in this deck, even from paintings behind over there, everything, hair color, okay, eyes, the way their features are. When we're talking about people, it's also very straightforward. King of Swords, someone who has a lot of knowledge. You have books behind him. He's well-traveled. Knowledge comes from not only from books, but also life experiences, right? And he's holding a book, so it's a really good representation of King of Swords. Now we have the Emperor. You can say straight away he has his life in order. He knows what he's doing. He's super experienced, as if he's waiting for you to come to him for him to give you advice, right? Then Queen of Cups. Queen of Pentacles in this deck is a bit different for me. She's a bit of a cocky bitch, okay? And I really like her, but it depends what kind of surrounding cards we have. So if we had Seven of Swords next to it, or if we had some other cards that are not very nice, I wouldn't really like the personality, and I would tell you maybe watch out, you know. This is someone who's being driven by ego. But regular Queen of Pentacles is not like that. Regular Queen of Pentacles is someone who is very abundant, the same way that she is. You can see how well she's dressed. She probably lives in a very beautiful home, taken from this part here. She's very proud of how much she has achieved, not only in her workplace, but also in her home life. Both are very stable. Just in this deck, she's a bit different, and I take her that way. Every deck, you will notice, will have its own twist on tarot, and don't resist it, because this is your intuitive part. Your intuitive side has to pick up on those messages, okay? So don't try to read every single deck the exact same way, because you're blocking out a lot of information that you could be picking up. Now we have Two of Cups here, which again talks about this beautiful, very high soul connection, and it's very clear in this deck, isn't it? Yin and yang coming together, these people working on their magic, you know, these people working on this connection, and it's just very vibrant deck. Nine of Cups, wish fulfillment, happiness. Here you go, very straightforward, okay? So I hope this made sense. This is my go-to deck. Now another deck that I want to talk about is, let's say if I did a private reading and I wanted to find out how does this person feel emotionally, I would probably choose the Triple Goddess deck, because this deck can portray to you that emotional stability, the emotions, how they're feeling, what's making them happy, what's upsetting them, okay? So here we go. You can see what tranquility this person gives out to you just by looking at them. And there is a moon, so they're probably very connected spiritually, okay? Now take a look at this. You can clearly see, I read this moon very differently from regular moon because this person is very young in real life, but they just don't see themselves as very young, okay? So there's a bit of a twist to this moon card, and you can clearly see their face expressions in the triple goddess deck. That's why I like it. Over here, look. Okay, it gives out a lot how this person is feeling. Three of Swords. Again, you know, someone is struggling, something has happened. Seven of Wands, clearly taking care of the one who can't take care of themselves very well, standing your ground, being protective over something. And you don't even need sometimes to know some meanings of the cards, because I mean, we're so lucky at this time that we have so many beautiful creations out there, so many beautiful artworks out there on tarot decks that it speaks for itself, okay? That's why I'm saying don't over push with tarot card meanings, because that's when you put yourself in certain frame and you don't allow those decks to speak differently with you, okay? For example, Five of Pents in this deck is all about I don't want to hear what you want to say, and it's okay. I usually take it that way, okay, unless other cards show me otherwise, surrounding cards. When I do private readings, I try to mix a lot of decks. So why I'm doing so, I usually go by the person's vibe. So if I did a reading for someone, I would have all decks laid out, and I would be looking at those decks and seeing which decks vibe with that particular person, okay? Because what that means, especially when it comes to certain questions, what that means that there's a specific card in that deck that would represent that person or answer that question perfectly. So really always listen to your gut feeling which deck you're being drawn to, because there might be a specific card in there too that is going to allow you to find that question, to find the answer to the question much easier. Okay, now this is my creative deck. This is the Texture Tarot deck. It's a very good quality deck and it's beautiful. This deck for me is more so used for people who are a bit more creative. I don't know why, or someone who has that very light-hearted vibe to them. If you take a look at the Sun card in this deck, for example, look at this happiness, look at the inner child, okay? So bringing out inner child, feeling super happy, careless, like you used to be when you were children, right? This deck is the textures are very beautiful, hence the Texture Tarot deck. You can see over here in Nine of Pentacles how much effort is put in this card. You can pick up so many things from this, but for me this whole deck is very creative, okay? I don't know why, that's how I see it. Look at the Queen of Pentacles in this deck. She's working on something again, you know, she's barefoot. This is a very good creative vibe here. Now the Hierophant is someone who has been represented very straightforwardly too, a teacher, a preacher, someone, you know, of tradition, a priest possibly, and you can see it very clearly here. He might even have answers to your questions with the keys. He has the book. Possibly this card sometimes comes up to me when a person is supposed to be a teacher or a leader or a spiritual teacher of some sorts, and that shows very clearly in this deck, okay? So this is my fun deck. This is a very light-hearted, beautiful deck that is very inspirational for me. Even in Hermit, you can see that there is an owl that's kind of hidden in the corner there, so you could really connect to this deck and see a lot from it. I don't use this deck too often, but I don't want to say that I don't use it at all. This is like a fourth or third deck to me to go for. Now, one of the new decks that I bought is the Vice Versa Tarot, and I've noticed how I use that one is if, let's say, someone in private reading has asked me what I don't see happening or what I'm not aware of, this deck works very well for me. You might use this deck differently because it's such a beautiful deck too. I mean, the artwork is just magical. So let me find an example for you with this deck. Where is the card that I wanted to find for you that was a really good representation of what I mean? So take a look at the Four of Swords here. So if I ask something that this person doesn't see, here this person seems very content, very calm, they're just chilling, okay? What we don't see though, on the other side, that the whole city is on fire. So this kind of thing popped out when I was doing a corona pandemic reading. Someone had to kind of close their eyes to what's happening in the world, okay? And that came out, and that was so straightforward for me. Now take a look at the Sun card. When it's reversed, it seems like this lady is on her own, right? Sorry, the Three of Cups. Did I say Sun? Three of Cups. She looks like she's alone there, right? But when you turn it upright, you can see that there are people with her enjoying that time. So they somehow bonding, okay? And there's some kind of celebration happening there. So this is very good for me when someone asks me about something that is behind the scenes, that is happening behind the scenes and you can't really quite see it, okay? Now, when we're talking about the career, so for example, if I did a reading, a future partner reading, for example, where I'm talking about someone's career, right, your future partner's career, I would use my Steampunk deck because I would get that personality out of that person, you know, either using the logical side of a brain or creative side, you know, it comes through very well with the Steampunk. But what gives a lot out for me career-wise in this modern age, okay, is the Urban Tarot, and it's quite big, so I shuffle it vertically like this, okay? It's quite big. This deck is very modern, hence the Urban Tarot. So Princess of Discs, and it's even named differently. It's called the Kindergarten Teacher. Okay, let me focus what's happening here. Right? We have Success, which is Six of Pentacles, which is very different in this deck. Someone is polishing someone's shoes, equal give and take, you know, exchange happening. Let me find more of the cards that are vibing with this modern lifestyle of ours. Okay, we have the Rock Star. Okay, I'm gonna take out a couple of them. Yeah, I had that popping out, I think, for someone there. Yeah, that's plenty. So, for example, if we would be talking about a creative career of some sort, being in fashion, Princess of Discs would tell it all for you. Okay, that's super straightforward. I wouldn't read it that straightforwardly though, because surrounding cards have to decide the rest of the reading, but that's giving you already a very good hint of what it might be. Now, construction wise, we have Three of Pentacles works. So possibly someone who does work with buildings, maybe construction, maybe is someone who likes to work on the big, massive projects, you know, someone that is of a bigger scale. Now, Knight of Wands is represented by a rock star, okay? That's very straightforward as well in this deck. We also have a dancer, Princess of Wands, someone who might be into exotic dancing, maybe a stripper, maybe someone who likes belly dancing. You know, you can get a lot out of these cards. Prince of Wands is a journalist in this deck. Five of Pentacles is someone who's worrying over their health, and that's very straightforward. Then we have the Hanged Man, which is a bit different from a regular Hanged Man. I mean, the action is the same, right? Being hung. But what's happening here in this Hanged Man, you can see that money cards change and phone is falling from his pockets, and that can tell you a lot of why you've been on standstill and what can come out of it with the surrounding cards, okay? So this is a very good modern deck that speaks to you very straightforwardly, okay? Now let's take a look at the rest. So I have, this is called the Healing Tarot. Is it called the Healing? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called the Healing Tarot. The True Healing Tarot or something like that. because I don't have I think I threw out boxes when I was moving. But that's how it looks like, the back of it. Now, I would use this deck when I wanna, I don't know why though, when I wanna ask about location, about surroundings, okay? Because it's a little bit dark, and in some cards you can't pick up a lot from it, but I connect with them really well. So if we ask, for example, where this person is from in the private reading, or where they live, so straight away, if you got the 7 of Pence, we have those rocky surroundings here, so possibly cliffs, mountains, etc., etc. If you asked about timing, there are some leaves falling down, maybe possibly autumn time, if that's how you pick it up yourself. So tarot reading is very individual, it's a personal experience, and every time I do see people who criticize other tarot readers in comment sections down below of how they read their cards, I know that these are the people who don't really realize how energy works. Because if, for example, the 7 of Pentacles to me meant only the, let's say, the obstacle, okay? Only the obstacle that I have to overcome, right? The other card would come out when it comes to giving me that specific answer, because this is my personal deck. It has my energy, it understands me. My higher self would never mistaken me or would never trick me unless I shouldn't know some kind of information. Tarot would also not tell you some things, because maybe sometimes you don't have to know everything. If you do know something, so I don't push tarot, you see. If you do find out something that you shouldn't know about just yet, for example, personal partner's full appearance or which country they are from, okay? That's why sometimes I say, hey, you're not supposed to know that. For example, if I said that your future partner is going to be Italian, would you date someone who is South African? Because some people would be waiting for that Italian guy, but you have to be with that South African guy and to learn your lessons before you go and meet the Italian guy. You see what I mean? So this is very complex. Ethics in tarot is a big thing too. You have to know what to say, what not to say, and how much to say of what. So remember, if someone criticizes you about how you read your tarot deck, just know that those people maybe don't know as much about how energy works, or they haven't witnessed that themselves, because they've been reading that by the book. And by the book, anyone can read tarot. But the trick now is to read purely intuitively and to pick up certain messages. I can pull this card and only see autumn time, you see, and completely disregard what that means, and it's okay, right? Now, let's take a look at the rest. So this deck for me too also is very good for physical appearance. More like a body. So are they tall? Are they well built? Are they flexible? All about that. This deck's talking about body pretty well for me, and also a bit texture deck. Texture deck, what I forgot to tell you guys, speaks very, very well about the person's eye color, hair, and skin color, because some of those cards have a very, I don't know if I can find it for you now. For example, right? Someone who's a little bit tanned, not too much though here, but there are a couple of other cards that are talking about not only someone who is of pale white skin, but someone who would possibly be African, or someone who might be mixed, and that's why I really like that deck for physical appearance too. Eye color is very good for if you want to ask the texture tarot, because you're gonna pick it up quite easily. Now, coming back to the healing tarot, look, the body shape, it's very straightforward here. Someone possibly who is flexible or who likes to dance around, that can come through. Let me see what else. Places, when I said that, talks about places to me pretty well. So the Wheel of Fortune, if I've asked about a certain place where you're gonna travel next. So this Wheel of Fortune is has this historical vibe to it. So possibly a place where there's a lot of heritage, probably a lot of old churches or monumental buildings of some sorts. But that's how I picked this card up, you see. You don't have to. So it's a very personal experience. If you like this deck is very good for action too, you know. The actions are described pretty well. For example, look, 9 of Wands here. Therefore, someone who has a very good stamina. If you're asking about their build, someone who probably works out, you know, very straightforward here. Yeah, so that's about it. It talks very well about the world and one's external body, okay? For me personally. Now, how I do my privates, I always start with, depends which reading people book, but usually in most of my readings, I start with checking with this person's vibration. So when I want to check the vibration, what I do, I usually use my Rebecca Campbell's decks. So I draw from these decks, and I also draw tarot too. And I firstly read tarot, and then we dig into the Rebecca's deck. So this deck is called the Starseed Oracle, and that can tell you a lot, guys, of what kind of abilities this person has, where they're coming from, okay, on a spiritual level. And the second deck, this one is Work Your Light. So it's for spiritual people, for you to find out why you're here, you know, and what kind of shift your soul is going through right now. So what I would do, I would pull one of these cards, and it would tell me a lot. I always try not to interpret these cards because how beautiful the descriptions are in the deck already, okay? So the Courageous Pioneer, for example, multifaceted, unique nature, let yourself be seen, and it can tell you already a lot about the person, what they're going through. The 7 Star Sisters, Birth and Creations, Tapestry of Life Expression, okay? And you can see how well this deck connects to one's soul. We have Star Family that I really love. Look how beautiful this is. You are part of a team of souls. Call in support, okay? Wait, it's not yet time. Things are being woven. So this thing, don't push things to happen before it's ready, basically, okay? Then what else we have? The Cosmic Heart, Devotion, Potency, Make Your Life a Moving Prayer. These are very beautiful cards. We have a New Earth. It's happening, keep holding the vision. And I think it's talking about your true north in this card. Then Lifting the Veil. This came out quite often for me in the last month for privates. So a lot of people were understanding a lot of things that were kind of hidden for them. And it's saying questioning everything, anything unaligned must go. So you really start seeing the clarity, the sun rays, right? Now, this other deck is very similar. Color-wise, and also how the artwork is, because I think it's by the same creator. The artwork by Danielle Noel. Yeah, both by Danielle Noel, and I really love her artwork. It's speaking on another level, okay? Now let's take a look at these. Okay, that came out for me, for someone, the last week, and this is talking, you can already see what's happening here, right? This is talking about trusting the niggling feeling in you. What is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? So your soul is already whispering to you something that you should be doing or where to go, but you're like, but I don't know, you know, and this is saying, hey, trust the effing niggle, trust what your soul is telling you, trust your intuition, okay? We have this beautiful card that says you're already doing it, stop overthinking, keep facing your true north, again going towards that light. You can see how important these two decks are when it comes to digging deeply to what certain person is going through at a certain period of time. So I start off with the Rebecca's decks, except for very quick mini readings that I have, if I have them, because I try to keep my readings very analytical, and I don't really like to just answer the question without any guidance. Now, what else we have here? We have the Animal Tarot deck, which is really fun and really nice, which looks like this. And I think it's very cheap for what it is. I think I got it for like 10 or 11 pounds from Amazon some time ago. These are beautiful. These are very light-hearted cards that are, this is actually is a tarot deck. So Princess of Summer, it would have a quick description here. So this deck for me is good when it comes to passing messages or advice from the higher self or from the future self, and I tend to use it because it's kind of no bullshit type of a deck. There is description is very straightforward because you're going to reinterpret the description accordingly to the rest of the reading, what's coming next to these cards, okay? And it usually kind of gives the conclusion to the readings. Same way that the Rebecca Campbell's Oracle decks do to me too. That's why sometimes I pull cards for the future self, for people, how they're going to be feeling on a soul level. And it usually sums up the whole reading, you know, things that you would say throughout reading tarot, it would sum it up, and even same words would pop out, you know, in descriptions. So this is really cool. Really love this deck. I also use this deck sometimes when I need an extra channeled message in my mediumship. So let's say if I do see that a deceased wants to show me a picture of some sorts, and I can't quite fully get a grasp of a picture, I would use the imagery from, it's funny, I know, from the Animal Tarot deck, because it can talk about the surroundings, where this person was, okay? I mean, it's all nature, but I somehow pick up more from it than just that. So it gives me the vibe of the surroundings. What I use it for sometimes too is how your deceased might come through to you, through what kind of animal. And I'm paying attention to the bee here. Out of this whole thing, I'm paying attention to the bee. So it's very possible that someone watching this has noticed a lot of bees around them from time to time, and they've been chased by bees. And bee is a very good omen. So maybe your deceased was coming through bees, maybe you're seeing a lot of bees. So spirit animals are very good when it comes to this, okay? Yeah. We have zebras. So for example, I would double check with the deceased, is it the birds, because I'm looking at the birds now, or is it a bigger, more kind of exotic animal that they're talking about? If they did talk about exotic animal, it usually would come through as some kind of memory connected to it, okay? Or some kind of picture that they have taken of that exotic animal, and maybe they went that picture. So it's very complex of the how this is coming through. Now, my intuitive deck I use for basically anything and whenever I feel like. Okay, so this is very difficult to explain because this connects to me on a different level, and a lot of you guys have been testing this out with me in the community section. I will see how much time I have. I might bring it back, guys, and I might do videos, even maybe choosing a couple of you guys and pulling cards on camera, and other people might read out from the intuitive cards. Okay, so we're gonna see, because a lot of you were texting me and commenting on YouTube saying, can you bring the intuitive lessons back? And I think we might do that in the future. Not sure when, because I'm pretty busy now with privates at this very moment, and your YouTube guys requirements, I wanted to say requests. Okay, now this was one of the decks that I tried to study AF. I bought it 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I don't remember. But basically, this is the deck. What I tried to do at that time, what I wanted to do, I've been doing readings for some time, but I haven't done it professionally for that long because I was just doing it for friends and family. What I tried to do with this deck, I tried to know everything about each card. So I would pull out massive, longest ass descriptions, history of one card, and I would read from 3 different sources, and what words stood out for me the most, I would write them down. If you want to do this as the learning experience, you can, but it didn't work out for me that well. I wrote down the words, let me focus, on the corners of the card, and only those that vibe with me the most. Now, I stopped doing so, you can see here, because I haven't finished it, because I realized over time that the deeper I dive and read from the book only, the more complicated it becomes, and the less I read intuitively. And tarot is all about intuition, you know? So for me, that didn't work out because I was over pushing it. I wanted to know every single thing, you know, about the card, and that's unfortunately not how it always works, especially when you're trying to read intuitively. Because one Queen of Pentacles can describe one thing to you here, one Queen of Pentacles from the Triple Goddess can tell you something else, Queen of Pentacles something else, and you know, it goes on. So that is why it's good to have a variety of different decks that vibe with you a bit differently, so that you can get something out of each. What else, guys? There's one more deck that I don't really use, which is this Oceanic Tarot, I think it's called. I bought it only because it vibed very much with the channel and the whole aqua thing, but it does help me out when I need a very straightforward answer sometimes. Let's say, will this be successful for me, right? Personally, here you go, we have Ace of Swords, but this Ace of Swords is a bit different. It's called victory, right? So I wouldn't interpret the regular meaning. I would go by what the creator wanted me to hear in this, and I would leave out the rest. Another thing that I would suggest for you, a lot of you are tarot readers anyway, so I think you don't need all of that info that I'm telling you here about, but maybe someone can benefit from this. Another thing, when you do a reading at first, you might be a bit confused. You're like, what do all of these cards mean, right? So let's pull a couple of them. So let's say someone has asked me to do a general reading for the future. That's what I used to struggle with at the very beginning, because I wouldn't have a very straightforward answer. I would have to kind of work around it and get an answer, spend a bit more time and energy on it. Now, they would say to me, give me a general reading, right? And I have Queen of Cups, Nine of Pence, and is that the Page of Cups? Page of Cups, I think. Or Knight. Maybe Knight. Knight of Cups. Right. So, this would already give me an indication that this person will be probably very good with their business if they do want to be self-employed, or someone who is going to be very independent. Because I haven't asked a specific question, it can be sometimes difficult to be very sure if that's what we are talking about here. So instead of doing the general reading and pulling many cards in front of you and trying to kind of, you know, vibe with it at the very beginning, try to, for example, ask a question in your head and go by, okay, so we have a generic question for, let's say, Jane, okay? So how will the finances go for Jane in 2020? And then bang, we pull a card, right? And then another one, and then another one, and only on finances. And you see how that's vibing. We're talking about work. Tarot is giving us pentacles, work, okay? And justice in the middle, legal dealings, documents of some sort, signing contracts, etc., etc. And then split it to 2. How will Jane's relationship will be, you know? And we're gonna ask about relationships. So bang, heartbreak, right? You see how tarot is vibing even by what card it's given to me now. So that's proper pentacles, work, right? And then we have bang, relationship, 3 of pentacles, 3 of swords. Probably she will split up with someone or have some kind of a heartbreak. If you wanna clarify who this person will be, who will give them some kind of heartbreak, then ask tarot who this person is, We have There you go, we have the Hermit and Strength. So someone who really likes being independent and having their own space, probably. Someone who's very strong on their own. If you want to ask about signs prior pulling the cards. So Tarot will give you very straightforward answers if you ask very straightforward questions. That's why sometimes I tell people, better give me a very straightforward question, you know, how, let's say, how will my exam be? You know, will I pass, will I fail, and advice. So that's very straightforward. So for example, if Kevin asked me how will his exam go, here we go. Probably not the best. Okay, taken from 10 of Swords. But what can he do to improve it? Or what is he not doing correctly? What he's not doing correctly? Bang, probably too much concentrated on relationships rather than actually the work that he has to invest practicing or revising, okay? So really have those very straight questions, so you're gonna get very straight answers here. I don't know what else, guys, to tell you to help out with tarot, because it's very personal. Again, please take this journey as a very personal journey. Don't look how other people are reading tarot, because you're gonna get lost. You're going to lose your uniqueness. You're going to lose a part of what your intuitive side wants to tell you. I know it can be scary at first, but if you want to start, for example, doing tarot professionally, how I did it, I started doing it for free, not going to feel so pressured. So for example, someone came to me on Instagram at that time asking me a question, hey, in how many days this and that person will reach out? And because you see, I didn't expect anything back from this person, I just needed feedback. I was very lighthearted about what kind of answer I was giving her, and I told her 2 days. And I was like, but this person, the way they formulated the question, it seemed like they haven't heard from them for quite a while. So why am I so sure it's 2 days? Because I had card that popped out, it was 2 of something, I don't know of what, but my intuition was saying it's gonna be quick. Okay, and I was like 2 days, and she came back to me, she said, I don't know what the hell, but he reached out to me now and it's the 2nd day. And the less pressure you put on yourself, the easier it will be to allow that intuitive side to come in and give very straightforward answers to people. Okay, and those answers are not too straightforward sometimes because tarot doesn't want them to be, and it's okay not to over push it, because sometimes we simply don't need to know about certain things. Believe me, if tarot wants you to know something, you're gonna know about it, because tarot is your higher self sending you messages, right? So you're connecting through tarot to your higher self. Basically, your higher self knows all the answers, and your higher self knows what it is that you should know about and what it is that you should let happen naturally. Don't over push it. So I hope this made sense, guys. I mean, there are so many divination tools that you can use if you ever wanted, you know, even from picking these shells, you know, randomly. You ask me a question, I pick up a random shell and I tell you, you know, how it is, how it feels like for me. So there are so many divination tools that you can use, scrying, you know, or scribbling, or whatever works for you guys. It's not only tarot, so maybe find your unique way to do that, because it's very, when it comes to YouTube, it would be very probably weird if I started pulling out rocks from the garden and reading from them, right? Because people want to see the imagery and they want to vibe with it. And a lot of people know what tarot means watching these videos anyway. So I hope this somehow helped you out to kind of get a grasp of how to choose a tarot deck and what to look for and how to read tarot deck. Remember, never put yourself in constraints when it comes to reading. Take this journey as very individual, very personal, and very unique. You know, no one can tell you how to read tarot, because you are just a unique person. Okay, so I hope this made sense, and I'm gonna catch you next time. Bye for now.